players, the personalities who come from around the world to play professional soccer in the United States.
In a world where some call it football, football, or soccer, they dare to call it foosball. One thinks New York is blue. The other thinks New York is red. Soccer in America from a German perspective. Let them put some sauerkraut on your hot dog and join them for the Schnitzel Boys USA Hour.
Hello. Hey. Yeah. It's Schnitzel night. It's Monday night. We're doing a unified hour tonight because we figured a lot of themes are overlapping, and
Germany's very little's happening in Germany. And
sometimes happening in Germany. We'll talk about the big game in Europe, the Super Bowl of club soccer.
That was
and
happening.
How it apes.
That is true. That was happening in Germany.
And how that's right. That was mentioned. And how it apes the Super Bowl of North American soccer. Is that what the CONCACAF Champions Cup final is? Is it the Super Bowl of North American soccer?
It is bigger. It's bigger than the World Cup final, apparently, because that's Salt Bay was allowed to hang out during the World Cup final, but he was thrown out of the Champions League after party. So,
really? Tell me the story of that.
Well, that's it. I just did. That is.
Hold on. And I'm sure you're talking about the UEFA Champions League final.
Yes, not the CONCACAF.
I thought
I think
I was allowed to hang out with Cruz
Perhaps
Azul
he then immediately booked an intercontinental flight in order to go to the next best Champions League after party. That I have not.
But hold on,
I had not.
This is an after party. He probably, if he's allowed in something, it's the after party. The problem was he was on the field randomly during the frickin' trophy. Just bring that up again.
This is what I'm saying. This is the in the Champions League final. There's none of that. People.
Good.
He was very he politely but firmly pushed out by security. He immediately. I mean, he's a little dude, so he himself was not looking to tussle, but he had some muscle with him who took some exceptions. So there was a little bit of shoving, but nothing too untoward. And then he just kind of had to leave.
Well, that's because UEFA runs a tighter ship.
Why does he want to hang out with these boys? Like,
well, they don't want him there. So, well, Salt Bay took a hit. Now, this I'm a little out of the loop, so I didn't know who Salt Bay was. I learned who he was around the time he was essentially canceled, which was that FIFA thing. FIFA, when he went on that field, it rubbed everybody the wrong way, including me. And apparently, all of his not all, but like I think a lot of his restaurants have shut down. Like he took quite a hit. So I think for whatever reason,
really? This had economic consequences for him?
Yeah, I read somewhere, some sort of blog somewhere that
I didn't realize.
Who wants to eat the restaurant of a guy who sneaks onto a sacred turf?
And I thought there's no such thing as bad publicity. Isn't that how that's not how it works? I guess not.
Well,
I don't own a restaurant. I don't know.
No, I don't own a restaurant either. But all I know is that maybe he's trying to just. He won't let soccer go. He's like, these are the people that buy my steaks. I have to get in there somehow.
This is where I need to be. Yeah, I mean, it is curious. The whole thing is curious because it's also, there's that whole feud between FIFA and UEFA, and he seemed firmly a FIFA guy. Like he had, there's all these. So what was he doing there? I don't know. There's something going on. There's something going on that we don't know about, Stefan. But we will.
He was dared by Gianni Infantino, his buddy, who likes to prank, perhaps.
Or perhaps Gianni has not returned his calls lately. His maybe he was a little. He had to disavow him in the aftermath of this, and so he's looking for new friends at competing organizations. Maybe
Alexander Serafin.
Yeah.
Or whatever his name is.
Probably likes likes a steak with a little eccentrically sprinkled.
Ta, ta, ta. For the listeners at home, I'm doing the Salt
Yeah, he's
Bay
doing the Salt Bay.
salt shake. What's this called? The Salt Bay
Except
salt.
Stefan's doing it in large. He's over salting probably.
And I also don't have tiny, weird little sunglasses that only cover my eyes
No,
and nothing else on my face.
no.
But anyway, the UEFA Champions League final happened. It was on Sunday.
Yeah,
No, Saturday. It was
Saturday.
on Saturday, and it was as one-sided, unpredictably one-sided. Inter Milan, the oldest team of the
Oh, wait,
tournament.
I remember somebody
You predicted a 5-0
No, of
drubbing
course
from
not.
PSG?
Of course not, but I did predict
That's what I'm saying.
PSG winning before the semis.
That's true. Maybe I did too. Did both
I
of us?
no, you went for Barcelona. I mean,
Oh, right.
I have to
Oh, 'cause
I
of
gotta
Hansi
I have
Flick.
to be petty about this kind of thing because my predictions are usually so off. So when I get it right, I must insist on that being acknowledged. No, of course I did not think it was going to be 5-0, but it was also, it also wasn't surprising in a way because Inter had gotten a little lucky. I felt like over the last 2 rounds, also deserve not sour grapes, or not that I'm even particularly rooting for Bayern or Barcelona, but it seemed, like they every shot had gone in, and they had things had really gone their way, and there was there was clearly a world in which this young and sprightly PSG team would deal with them pretty easily with their sort of aging midfield, and that's turned out to be the case. Of course, 5-0 is a lot, or 5-0,
Right? No.
null
No.
is
No.
that's more than we thought. Of course, I mean, I didn't think, and it was the coming out party of one Desiree Doué, which he looks a
Do it.
little bit like a thicker version of Lamine Yamal, like Lamine Yamal's little
Plus.
more muscly cousin.
Yeah, he's older, right? He's a little bit older, right?
Not that much. I mean, he's
Yeah.
19.
And Lamine Yamal is what, 17?
17. Yeah. I
18?
mean, of course, that's a 2 years
He's got an extra year. He's got an extra year of growth on him.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, 100%. Inter Milan on average, I think the oldest team in the Champions League this year, versus PSG on average, the youngest team in the Champions League this year. If I believe the CBS stats, if I remember them correctly. And I'll be honest with you, I'm very happy that PSG won. The good guys won. Not that Inter Milan are evil per se.
Sports washing.
But like
chalk one up for sports washing.
Sports washing, yes, I know they're funded by whatever oil billionaires. However,
I mean,
PSG,
this
it's
is
hard to call them the good guys. I knew I was
Okay.
even mentally thinking before I said that.
All right.
It's
all
like
right.
they're not really the good guys.
I had to call you out on that. But I agree with you in the sense that is a likable team.
Teamwork won. Like PSG spent for stars. Remember, they broke the transfer market when they bought Neymar. Before that, they had Zlatan, and then they spent $250
Julian
million
Draxler.
to
Let's
get
not
Neymar.
forget.
Let's forget. Actually, the last thing I saw about Julian Draxler a couple years ago was that video where he just walked, that fun video where in the middle of a Saudi game or Qatari game or wherever he ended up, he just at the 85th minute just walked right off the field, completely emotionless, and nobody cared. And then the game kept going, and to this day I have no answers. I'm like, what was that? I've never seen that. Did he have to go to the bathroom? What was that? And it's just in Saudi Arabia, they don't care, man. They're just
wondering. It's just Julian just gets to do it, just does whatever. It's like everyone's, I don't know. He comes, he goes. Who cares?
And Julian Draxler got into a fight with Neymar, which is probably really easy, and they got into a fight at practice, and Neymar accused him of some dude just does back passes and said he's not talented and all that stuff. Anyway,
Oh,
Neymar, and then they got Lionel Messi. They just spent on all these players, but it wasn't working. And soccer's a team sport, Bjorn. So when all the stars went away, and Kylian Mbappe went away, and Messi went away, and Neymar went away, all of a sudden, PSG was a nice team of no stars,
started
of,
clicking.
of reclamation projects and youngsters like Doué or Osman Dembele. And they fricking showed up. They're like, this is how a team plays. And they played soccer with such freedom. And it was nice to see. And the reason I was saying like the good guys win, teamwork wins. Just like with Vancouver and Inter Miami, it was nice to see Vancouver win. Nothing beats, it just flutters my heart as a German. Nothing's more important than 11 hardworking guys working together as a team.
Yeah.
And that's soccer. It's not about stars.
And that
stars are
is
for the ads. That's for the commercials.
Yeah.
For the game, it's about the team.
Amen, brother. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's and that's sort of the magic, right? Also of the game, that it doesn't always it's not just about what there is on paper, but like there is some, and there was definitely some magic in that PSG team. I mean, that first goal was incredible. And beyond. So it was a fun final to watch, and a PSG team that one doesn't mind support. I mean, not supporting, but like, it was that one felt a little happy for. In the past, you were always kind of happy to see them
Right.
go out.
Yeah, because of
And
the star stuff.
and
Yeah.
this year they
Because the Neymar versus
deserved
Mbappe wine fest. It's like, get over yourselves. I just love seeing that collapse.
right.
This year, it's like this. I didn't want to see them collapse. And it's nice in the modern era of football. We now have a new member of the Champions League Winners Club. They were a first-time winner. They never
Oh
won
yeah,
it
that's
before.
right. Mm-hmm.
And now we've got a new winner. Now from finals, you want better games. It's a shame, like when the stuff is so lopsided in a final, you're just
more
like,
competitive, right?
yeah, you're like, well,
This was a record.
The other
We
team
had
showed up.
the biggest, the most lopsided finals have had 4 goal differences in the past, I believe. So this was a record. Yeah.
Not the only record, as there were other games this weekend, Bjorn.
Yeah.
So as Saturday had their
other Champions League finals, or one other.
Saturday had their Champions League final. We had a play-in game.
That's that's next. Yes.
There's a handful of games, and there is one game that made me proud this weekend. There's one game that was a fracasso for us, if you want to call Canada us, which I will. But then there was a game that wasn't too shabby. Club America, the mighty Club America, featuring world heavyweights like Jonathan Dos Santos and Alejandro Zendejas. They're like coming to LA in a stadium that was 2/3 LA, 2/3 Club America. And LAFC played for the Club World Cup. I think $10 million was on the line.
Yeah.
And Club America got themselves a gift of a penalty given to them by a stupid mistake from an LAFC defender.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Mark Delgado? Mark Delgado, right?
I believe so. I only watched the highlights. I did not watch this game. I had to mourn the season of the New York Knicks. We had so much hope, and it didn't pan out. The Pacers made the finals, so I could not stay up for this game. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, what happened? Reggie Miller got a last-minute 3.
Reggie Miller. Well, no, it wasn't him. No, this wasn't. There was no last-minute
Larry
action.
Bird coaching.
The Knicks lost the first 2 games, and there was kind of no coming back from that. They were down 3-1, and they lost. They won Game 5. Then they went to Indiana, and it was not close. So the Indiana won the series in 6.
Go Hoosiers! The annual New York Knicks crashing out of the playoffs.
No.
Annual New York event.
I mean, yeah, that is an annual event, but this, they were 2 games.
No, I know it was a semifinal.
They had not gotten this far in 25 years, so this was a little special.
Nice. It was nice. No, I was into it. but we have so much soccer to talk about. We can talk about basketball, even though I'm
Yeah,
wearing my
no,
LA
I'm just,
Clippers jersey.
this was just an aside.
I'm wearing my LA Clippers shirt, given to me by Free at the one game I attended, which
Oh,
was also the last Clippers game I've ever seen, and probably the first one I watched a lot of time. Anyway, so we had a play-in game over the weekend, $10 million game, the $10 million game, LAFC versus Club America, and LAFC were a very confident, dominant team on the ball, held the ball. They got the equalizer there at the end, and then they got the winner in overtime through Denny Bouanga. And all the LAFC fans on Reddit were like, "Why are we scared? We've never lost this team before,"
assist from
and they still
Olivier
haven't lost this
Giroud.
team. Yeah, Olivier Giroud. The big theme that day was "Vive la France" because PSG won in the morning, and then Denny Bouanga, Olivier Giroud, and Hugo Lloris were key figures in this LAFC playing game. So it was a big day for France, a big day for American soccer, and I was like, "Holy crap!" I was assuming Club America was going to cakewalk this, but no, LAFC showed that they're men amongst men, and they defeated Club America, and they are now going to go play Chelsea in 2 weeks, the FIFA Club World Cup, and there are now 3 MLS entrants in the FIFA Club World Cup. No, not Vancouver. Sorry, Seattle Sounders, LAFC, and the mighty Inter Miami, selected by Invite. So we got 3 MLS teams. I was like, hey, look at that, and I was like, look at MLS clubs being, the epic eternal debate, MLS versus Liga MX. Why are they superior? Are they superior? Blah, blah, blah. And I watched this game. I was like, man, they ain't superior. Because this is, LAFC is 6th place. Club America is 2nd place. They just lost as runners up after a long season in Mexico. And LAFC looks like they would have beat them in the final too, just like Toluca did. So cut to last night. Vancouver Whitecaps in Mexico City at Cruz Azul's temporary stadium as Estadio Azteca is being renovated for the World Cup. In Mexico, and Vancouver went down there. They knocked out Monterrey. They went down there. They knocked out Pumas, was it? Forgot. They knocked out a couple Mexican clubs on the way.
Yeah, did very well.
So, yeah, they did well. They've been doing it, Now, they were without Sebastian Berhalter because of the stupid yellow card rule.
Yeah, but I mean, okay.
No, but that's what I was saying. It's like, I was just like, man, talk about stars. Sebastian Berhalter gets to the end of that team. No Ryan Gall, no Sebastian Berhalter, but that happens.
Total collapse without Triple G's kid.
Yeah, but Vancouver just,
I mean,
it was so nervy. They almost gifted him a goal in the 4th minute. It didn't happen. Then they gifted them a goal in the 8th minute. And it's like, Vancouver, stop giving them goals. Let them get their own goals. And then
it was embarrassing. Even
it was
just
pathetic and embarrassing.
Even just, I mean, I don't know. I guess you can't help but a little bit be invested in the MLS. Yeah, I don't know. It was, whatever. It was pathetic. Every, sometimes teams have bad games, but this was extreme. And it just doesn't seem to happen to the Mexican teams. I was thinking when I was watching, I was like, that stadium does not seem intimidating. It's a pretty open bowl.
Oh, yeah.
They had a a track and field, like a running track around the field. I was like, this doesn't look too bad. It wasn't sold out. I mean, but somehow I don't know what happened. They brought their own chef, we were told. It wasn't that the local cuisine did a number on them. I guess there's always the altitude. It's 7,500 feet. Does that make a difference? I suppose. But this was just they just did not show up. They looked completely frozen from the beginning. And they lost the game 5-0, and the game ended without a single shot for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Not shot on goal, no shots, 0 shots. So can't score if you don't. But anyway, so
you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And they missed all of them. So and like, just like the Champions League final, it's like, this is a final. They both earned it. Shouldn't this be more competitive?
Only to came a long way only to embarrass themselves.
I throughout the whole first half, I'm like, should I shut this off? when they scored the 5th goal at the beginning of the second half, I shut it off. And it was exactly the right time to shut it off because that was the final score, and
And
assuming
nothing
the
else.
rest of the game was a bunch of
I guess
nothing.
I was still interested at that point, I was still interested if they were gonna get a shot off. They did not.
They did not.
They
It
did
was just
not.
pathetic.
I mean, very pathetic. So I guess what we're learning here is even though there obviously are plenty of Mexican fans in the US that will fill the stadiums whenever their teams come to visit, it seems like that still makes a difference. The home court, even though this is not necessarily numerical advantage in terms of fans in the stadium, but like maybe I don't know what is it about the home court? You get to sleep in your own bed. You have your wife and children nearby. I don't know, but somehow people do better when they're
I
in
know.
their stadium, and that seems to be the case when it comes uh, to the MLS Liga MX rivalry, the Leagues Cup. Leagues Cup's been very competitive. Um, Probably because of that, because it's played in the US. I mean, I remember that game that we had against Tigers was very fun, and we came back to win it. But I guess, yeah, if we had to go to wherever it is, Monterey, or like that would be probably very different. I don't know. What is it about that? What is your theory, Stefan? Why does this keep
Well,
happening? I mean, we kind of think, right? We've talked about this before. We kind of think that the best Mexican teams are still a cut above the best MLS teams, perhaps.
yeah.
Even though the average, if you average them all out, the worst MLS team is probably better than the worst Liga MX team, and same at the top. So there's that, and the home court. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that asset. Like, I think their top teams, I guess, at least have deeper rosters or more balanced rosters than our top teams. But their bottom teams can't compete with our teams, I think. Or at least it would like if I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends. Like if the um if Toronto FC went to Atletico San Luis or something, I guess Toronto FC would win. But it's hard to tell because frankly, it's most of the games are here in the United States, and in the United States, that gives us an edge. So whenever we do well against Mexican clubs in the United States, we're the hosts.
Right.
So it's like a home. It's a home. We have a home advantage. I think a true sign of a soccer team is how well do you play outside of your country. And MLS clubs historically have proven they can't win anything outside of their country. That's in Mexico mainly, but also Seattle going to when they went to the FIFA Club World Cup, they lost to everybody. They lost to Moroccan team. They lost
Right.
to everybody. And it's like, and for whatever reason, look at that, and I'm not surprised. I'm just like,
It
well,
it also seems somehow but the culture shock is, because like teams go to Canada all the time in MLS,
yeah,
and so it seems like the culture shock is somehow greater going
well,
to Mexico. And I mean, I had that experience. It's not like I was competing in anything, but when I traveled in Mexico many years ago, to Mexico City, and it's definitely different. Like
yeah.
it's definitely very
But they're
different.
used to it. I don't know. Maybe they do the preseasons there. I don't know. Also, they're traveling on quite the budget. They're staying in the nicest hotels. They have a private chef. I
Yeah,
mean, I
but
mean
it's
the
gotta be
altitude. They're only
something.
there for a couple of days. I mean, soccer field to soccer field. The altitude is definitely a factor, I think. But I want to bring up a couple things here. But you're
Okay.
alluding to my theory because I think about this a lot. Mexico used to have promotion and relegation. They
Mhm.
suspended that since COVID, so they don't have promotion relegation
I think they're
anymore.
being sued right now to
Right.
reinstate it. Yeah, I read. Yeah.
Right, which is very interesting. They're at the Club of Arbitration of Sport, that mysterious sports legal organization that I still have no real concept of. They are at CAS right now, and the lower league is suing the upper league, or the lower team is suing the upper league, kind of like a Rocco B. Camiso style in a way, where it's like, hey, we
Ah,
deserve to be promoted. So that'll be very interesting. But
love a Rocco reference.
Rocco, Rocco's modern soccer world. Uh, you know, And this is trying to my ADHD brain here. So there's something to that. That's been suspended, but the pressure on a Mexican club is higher. Even though it's been suspended, they historically have promotion relegation. They've got a lot of fans, a lot of press. The pressure, every game counts. The pressure is on a Mexican club. And I believe that environment creates for players just play with a little bit more pep in your step. Because the Liga Mex squads, I'm looking at these rosters. They're MLS rosters, man. Like the Argentinian dude who's crushing it, they got him from Midtjylland in Norway. You
Hmm.
know, that's where MLS gets their players from. Mateus Bogusz is a former LAFC player. Was he an LAFC superstar?
Right. No, he was not.
No. And then who's the other one? There was another guy, another MLS guy there too on Cruz Azul last night.
Oh, Giacomakis, he doesn't even start. He was like,
Giacomakis.
yeah. He was a big deal in Atlanta.
And I'm looking at
For a minute.
and their captain, their number 8, who did that great goal. He's 33
Mhm.
year old Argentinian league vet who never played for the national team.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, these are the kind of guys. These are our players too. You know, all those guys are also an MLS route. So it's not like they have these great superstars.
Right.
You know,
Well,
so I look at that and be like, how could that team is 5-0, no shots on goal, better than Vancouver Whitecaps? And it's got to be the environment. That's firstly. Secondly, something I brought up before, and this leads into something I want to talk about with you, which is my newly discovered passion.
oh,
The
wait.
Gartman Royce YouTube blog.
I knew this was
So
coming.
I
Wait,
found
how
a
does
treasure
this
trove of
relate?
access.
Please tell us. Okay.
I'm getting there. I'll get there in just a second.
Okay.
I found this great new treasure trove. We're back in the old days of cable before internet. This would have been like a 10-part cable series that hard to find. Marco Royce's wife blogs their life in LA, and it
Mm.
is so cool and so great. I have so much to say about it. I love this show. It's done so well. It's like a freaking lifestyle show. And it
And
blogs the
it's
life
auf
and
Deutsch,
times
right? We should say. It's
auf Deutsch,
yeah, it's in
although
German.
I had to switch off auto dubbing. They have a thing where the whole thing auto dubs in English.
Oh my
And you have
God, really?
I had to turn it off so I could hear the original tone, the original sound, the original German. So if you don't speak German, you can watch it in dubbed. So Gartman Royce, Gartmannreus. Look it up on YouTube. It's his wife who seems very sweet. She's got a great personality. There's a lot of lifestyle blogging. Anyway, sometimes Marco Royce grabs the camera.
Great extensions.
And Marco Royce,
not just a great personality, also great hair extensions.
excellent hair extensions. But I'm trying to stay on track here, but I also want to give her some props in a second. I'll give her props later.
All right. We are
So
trying to
Marco
connect
Royce,
this to the CCL final.
Liga MX.
Yeah.
Well, I want to bring up a systemic thing that I
Okay.
brought up before. That Montreal Impact coach or that DC United coach, what was his name? Lolero, I forgot his name. The guy who was challenged by the players union to be less rough on the players, and he was fired for it over at DC United for creating, I don't know, a toxic work environment or something.
Okay.
And then I want to say that happened in Atlanta too. I think the Atlanta players sued was it Frank DeBoer or one of them. Pretty much, I've seen this runner here in MLS 2 or 3 times where players have gone to the union, complained about standards, and the players have won. Right? I've never seen that anywhere. It's like you don't see that in the Bundesliga, you don't see that in England, you don't see that in Mexico. Anyway, during one of these Gartman Royce episodes,
people are soft. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're cutting through to my thing, but essentially, anyway, during one of the Gartman Royce episodes, Marco Royce takes his camera to LA Galaxy, and behind the scenes, which is really cool, you don't see that much. So he goes in the players' entrance, and he goes straight to the full buffet they have for everybody. And this buffet is nothing but quiche and bacon and toast. And Marco Royce brings up this giant thing of Nutella. He's like, "This is poison for me. Like I could eat this whole thing if I wanted to, but I'm trying to behave and I can't." Then he goes over to the drink counter, and it's a full soda machine with Coke and Sprite, regular, not sugar free or none of that. And he's like, "Look at this." And pretty much, he's like calling out the club to be like, look at this, look at this. You can drink Coke and Sprite if
This
you
is
want. I
not
won't. I'll just
this
be
is
drinking
not
peach.
nutrition, right?
No, and I'm just like, why is that? And also, again, I got so much here. Do you remember when Brad Friedel was fired by the New England Revolution, and he went on radio at BBC Scotland and complained about this exact thing?
Oh, when he was coaching, yeah, he was saying everybody's soft.
He went to BBC Scotland and he's like, "Yeah, I'm at New England Revolution. I opened the fridge; it's full of Pop Tarts and or whatever, the for Coke and stuff, you know." And he's just like, "What is? Why is any of this stuff here?" And, and like literally, they have a full chef staff, and it looked like a full hotel breakfast with nothing but quiche, which is like carbs. It's like, shouldn't they have a nutritionist making nutrition? Like, what is this? And all this is to say that, I mean, I think it's very easy for an MLS player to not be disciplined, and I think the environment compounded with the fact that the league doesn't have relegation and the league has this sort of weird postseason where 8 to 9 teams per conference get in, and it's kind of a jumble jam. Like you could lose for, you know what I mean? It's just the environment in MLS doesn't lead to super competitiveness,
Hmm.
and B, I think the players union just has way too much power. I mean, if
Interesting.
I have a feeling that if the LA Galaxy try to restrict I have a feeling that if the LA Galaxy take the Coke machine away from this professional sports organization, they would be like sued
People
by the
would
players
riot.
union and they'd be demanded to return the Coke machine. You, you shouldn't be drinking Coke. You shouldn't be
Because
eating quiche.
these people, they can't go, they can't pick up a can on the way home. Like they got to
That's what I'm
get it from
saying.
if they want it.
Toronto
All right.
FC once did this thing where players had to report their diets online and all that stuff, and they thought that was nuts. I'm like, I thought that was standard. Right, they're professional athletes, Bjorn. Why are they eating? Why are they eating Nutella, drinking Coke? You
Well, I
know,
mean, I think this is a debate that transcends MLS. I think this, like this is always, Arsene Wenger at some point had
right?
all
No more
these,
ketchup. Remember that was the
yeah,
whole
had
thing,
all these opinions about what people should put in their body, and I mean, this is always, like, do people do better when they're so tightly managed, or do they feel like, uh, uh, is it better when they have some freedom? I think these are questions that are eternal, right? Like when it comes to human quests for excellence. Um, yeah, I
but my
mean,
big point with all that is I'm seeing a pattern. Like I just gave 3 or 4 examples of clues here. In the
of stuff.
Bundesliga,
Okay.
you don't see the Borussia Dortmund players eating like a pile of carbs. Hold on, in the Pulisic documentary that Vice did years ago, Christian Pulisic with an interviewer goes to the restaurant next to
Just
Borussia Dortmund,
it's just
and,
water
and
and sand.
pretty much, not sand, but like Christian Pulisic's like, "Hi, our nutritionist said I was supposed to eat this," and he
Mm,
ordered a special a dietary meal as prescribed by the nutritionist.
mm.
And I was like, "Yes, that's a professional sports organization. That's an athlete who they spend millions of dollars on." You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So when this MLS Liga MX debate, I think looking at the rosters is a little bit of a red herring because the rosters to me are similar. And the MLS players, like the tippy top MLS players, they have the bigger salaries, not the League MX players. I think the League MX players have better average salaries overall. Like the team from top to bottom is probably much more comparable. Where an MLS team, it's like very top heavy and the bottom is quite the bottom. So I
Yeah,
think
I
there's a
think
difference
that's
there.
that. Yeah, I think that's.
But I think that's a red herring because it's just like I think there's much more to the
It's the
environments that
sodas.
these clubs are creating.
All right.
Because MLS is its own little bubble, and they love playing each other, and the MLS staff really only cares about MLS Cup. And, and when the minute a club has to go
And
play in a real tournament, it's like 5-0 losses, getting spanked.
And in
And it's
Liga
not
MX, things are super tight. Like there's no carb restrictions and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
at League MX, the players have less rights. I know that.
Okay.
Um, the way League MX works is the players don't dictate where they go; the owners do.
So they have to.
Um,
They're thin because they're scared.
well, I'm not advocating less rights, but I'm just trying to point out that Liga MX, I think it's more dictatorial, more like we're the owners, we say how it's done. Where in MLS, the players can wind back and win. Liga, you don't see that in other leagues.
All right.
So I think there's something to that. I think the Liga MX environment is just more competitive. The players are put under a stricter regimen, I would assume, and it shows when the competition when it's time for competition time. Liga MX teams made up of your Chicharitos, your Gio dos Santos, your Jonathan Bogusz, your Frankie Amayas, your Alejandro Zendejas, your Omar Gonzalez's, all these guys who we know, all of a sudden they're like twice the good of a team.
They
It's
put
got
their
to be
back.
environment.
They put their back into it.
They put their back into it. So that's my thing. I think
All right.
I think the MLS, we should keep an eye on the MLS being a little bit too soft of environment for its players.
All right. Sure, sounds good. I'll keep an eye out. I was sort of reminded watching that game, the Champions League final. We've talked about that before. This kind of like there was just a I think there is the difference also in these kinds of games with these two leagues is that the Liga MX teams are just, and maybe that's speaks to what you're saying, and it's just kind of a different, thought of it from a different angle. They're just ruthlessly pragmatic. There's just no, like they were working the ref right from the get-go. There's all kinds of the dark arts are in full effect. There's no like, they were like, this is not going to be pretty. It doesn't have to be. We're just gonna do what we have to do. And on the Vancouver side, there was just a naivete that was not up to this. They were like, okay, because the first two goals were this weird, like we're playing out of the back. We line up our center backs at the very wide. So then when we give the ball away, we have no chance to recover. There was just something about this that reminded me of these, when people were frustrated with the U.S. men's national team under Berhalter, all these systems and this, I think there's just a fragility about this kind of possession-based approach. When you're up against this kind of very like pragmatic team, who's just going harder and is just going to fight for everybody. There's like your technique's only going to get you so far. You always have to match the intensity. And if you don't, like, even if you have the system or you're playing out of the back or whatever, like it can easily go very, very, go south very quickly. And I think that's where that's what I just sort of saw with the Whitecaps, that they were just, they had a plan, but then once they got hit in the face, they had no, they were just stunned.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a mentality thing. Like Liga MX clubs come from a place where every moment matters, and you get really, every moment matters. And MLS is an environment where every moment does not matter. It's like kind of reminds me of like Rocky, I don't know, 2 maybe, probably Rocky 2.
Is that the Mr. T one?
No, that's Rocky 3. But that's included too. Rocky 2 is where it's like, I'm a good fighter, but Mickey keeps setting up with soft fighters, kind of because he doesn't really believe in his, he's setting him up to succeed, not compete.
Right.
And Rocky's like, I could fight. He's like, you're a bum. You're blind. Can't you see that? Or whatever. And that's what MLS is doing. MLS is not setting us up to compete. MLS is setting us up to excel because they're a marketing company when push comes to shove. So like Liga MX is a big deal because they bring the Mexican clubs here, but in our environment, kind of fluff up our boys to make them feel better about themselves. But when it comes to an actual third-party competition where an MLS team has to go to Mexico and just win with soccer, that rarely works out. In fact, it ridiculously never works out, And MLS isn't interested in MLS is trying to shield itself and create a comfortable environment to excel in, not compete in, And we as fans have recognized that and
move the Leagues Cup to Mexico.
Hell yeah. I've been saying that for a while.
That's what we demand. Which also, and this brings us then to the next. The summer of soccer is here, and so the FIFA World Cup. You were saying how Inter Miami basically got anointed into this
Right.
tournament, and I'm wondering if that's going to turn out to be a wise decision, because they also could. This could go quite poorly for them potentially.
Well, Inter Miami have picked themselves up over the last couple of games because they have the skills for that. This kind of leads back to my softness thing. Like Lionel Messi was mad at his teammates. I think him and Suarez went at it once, and then they just made the decision to care for a bit, and all of a sudden it showed. Where in any other league, they're not allowed to not care for 4 weeks in a row. Here in MLS, the players have to decide. Their coach is their buddy. It's just like they're playing, and then probably go to nice restaurants and stuff. And no one's telling Messi and Suarez what they can and can't eat. I think they just made the decision to be like, all right, FIFA Club World Cup's coming up. Let's start giving a shit again. And they are in the softest group of the three. So if any of these MLS teams are going to advance, it's probably Inter Miami. So Seattle Sounders, the only team that earned their spot, were gifted by being handed the group of death. They have Paris Saint-Germain, Atletico Madrid, and Botafogo, Brazil's richest club. All at home, mind you. They're the only team that gets to play at home, I guess, other than Miami. But I mean, Seattle Sounders going to get that's 0 for 3 for Seattle Sounders. Maybe a tie against Botafogo, maybe. I don't know. And then LAFC have Chelsea and Palmeiras. Palmeiras, you know who Palmeiras forward is, by the way?
No.
Facundo Torres.
Oh, wait, huh?
Orlando City's Facundo Torres.
Oh, I was going to say, not Ferran. Oh, I was thinking of Ferran Torres.
No, Facundo Torres.
Orlando guy. Yeah, okay.
Again, Latin American clubs are just taking our players and turning them into bigger superstars, which goes to my earlier point of Palmeiras is a much more competitive environment than in Orlando City. But anyway, I believe LAFC plays Chelsea, Palmeiras, and then they play a club from Tunisia. So they should be able to get a win against that club in Tunisia.
Right.
But LAFC is playing all these games on the East Coast. They're not playing any games in LA. And then Inter Miami. Inter Miami has Al Ali, which they should be able to handle. Porto, and then who was the other one?
Palmeiras.
Oh, they're the ones with Palmeiras. Yeah, then who's LAFC? LAFC's maybe got someone else. Flamengo, maybe. LAFC has Flamengo, I think, another Brazilian club. But anyway, Inter Miami, Porto and Palmeiras will be favorites. Probably, but Inter Miami, I think, is the team with the best chance to get out of the group, I would say.
I think you're right. I think that is a pretty they are in the softest group. So maybe they will not embarrass themselves, but it could get ugly. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on how good the other teams are. But again, this is in the United States. It's our environment. Yeah, we'll see. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if all three MLS clubs all three just get quite grouped and then moving on, rest and get ready for the MLS series.
But before that even gets going, we have the biggest tournament of the summer right away, which is the UEFA Nations League. And our team, this is
all right
on Wednesday and this weekend. This is coming right up. We have Germany could win a trophy. Yeah, playing Portugal on Wednesday. And then if they win, play the final on one more day of rest against the winner of, what is it? It's France and Spain, right? So
are these the Bayern? So help me out with scheduling here. The Bayern and Borussia Dortmund players are with Germany right now, right? They're not with their clubs.
I think that is
they must
true.
Be, right?
And then they're gonna move on. Yeah, because this is happening first. Mm-hmm.
And both German clubs are based in Florida this summer, by the way. Hot, steamy Florida. And then Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich are going to play a month of games. There's a trend. There's something new this year, Bjorn.
Yeah.
I'll talk about Germany in a second. Actually, I'll save it. I'll talk about Germany now. Yeah, Germany's playing Portugal the final. It's exciting. It's fun. We're into it. But I believe the philosophy is the same as your Ballon d'Or philosophy. If we win, it's another trophy. If we lose, it's a meaningless trophy. No one cares about. Quick, Bjorn, who won the UEFA Nations League in 2023? Quick.
France.
Is that true?
It's been Portugal, Spain, and France. I don't forget in what order, but yeah, I think so.
Well, that's pretty impressive. I wouldn't have known. Maybe Germany. That'll be good.
That would be
Good little
fun.
booster for their preparations ahead of the World Cup because Germany's doing it right. There's so much to talk about. We missed a week last week. We haven't even talked the U.S. roster, but
Yeah,
there's
we'll
a
get
new.
there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. There's a new trend in club soccer this year, Bjorn, that I haven't seen before. I guess a little bit, but it's really exaggerated. The post-season friendly tours is like Manchester United's in Asia, Eintracht Frankfurt's coming to Kentucky,
Uh-huh.
RB Leipzig's in Brazil right now. All these clubs are doing these summer tours, and all the clubs like Borussia Dortmund and Bayern München coming for the FIFA event. They're doing their games right at the end of the season now. Back in the day, normally it's you have when the season's done, you're off for a month. Then you do your pre-season tour, global tours to get ready for the new season, which made sense, a little bit. Now they're doing it when this tired season is over. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's that thing, right? Oh, by the way, I was wrong. It was Spain in 23, France in 21, and Portugal in 2019. So I got the order wrong, but those are the three teams that won the Nations League. Anyway, the Germany has not done anything in the Nations League. This is the first time that we have made the Final Four. And yeah, what do I think about that? Yeah, I mean, it's this whole
Final two. Isn't Portugal the final? When the final?
Say what?
You said Final Four. Germany and Portugal are finalists.
No,
It's
that's one of the semifinals. Spain and France are the other semifinal, and then this weekend they're going to play the final and the third place game.
Oh, okay.
It's like a little tournament in Stuttgart and also happening in Germany. Stuttgart and Munich
setting themselves up for success.
Are the two venues. So yeah, hopefully this will it'll be fun. I don't know. I'm interested. I like the Nagelsmann Mannschaft.
Me too.
I enjoy watching them. So and this is semi-competitive. Everybody's tired. It's the end of the season. Joshua Kimmich is going to have his 100th game for the national team. That is not a number that too many people get to. I think it's Beckenbauer, Mateos, Klose. Who else? Are there a lot of?
Also, Mateos is 164 caps.
Yeah, yeah.
Who's ever going to catch that?
No, nobody.
Yeah, so Kimmich, one of two Bayern players on the team this season for the Champions League.
Yeah, we have
serviceable player. He's been there since he was like 20. He's one of those who's just showed up right away. Right when Philipp Lahm retired, Kimmich immediately replaced him right away, right out of the youth academy. And he's been a serviceable player ever since. No, 100%.
Oh, it's more than I thought, actually. For a long time, when I was a kid, it was only Beckenbauer. He was the only guy who had more than 100. But I guess since then, we have a few. We have Thomas Hessler, Per Mertesacker, Jürgen Kohler, Jürgen Klinsmann, Philipp Lahm, Toni Kroos, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Manuel Neuer, Lukas Podolski, Thomas Müller, Miroslav Klose, Lothar Matthäus. So it's a few.
It's a lot. Yeah. But
it's a few now.
Lukas Podolski, by the way, just signed a new contract. He's still a professional soccer player, and he just extended his contract a year.
Amazing. Maybe he'll play for the national team again. But anyway, what I was going to say is like, yeah, this whole thing about the teams are complaining, the players are complaining. There's too many games. Everybody's overloaded, but the checks are still clearing, so it's hard to say no.
There is some players who are complaining because the checks are not clearing, and that's the Seattle Sounders.
I was just gonna. So I was looking for a way
into that because not all is well
because they
state of Denmark.
They want some of that sweet FIFA money. I mean, that's
Bjorn. Riddle me this. Again, don't mess with an American suit. American suits are second to none. Chuck Blazer, Don Garber.
Oh,
I mean, these are the masters
the masters
of just the business
of
contract
grift.
sports world.
The grift,
Grift.
the yes, world-class grift.
Great grift. So their deal that they've signed and agreed upon a couple of years ago during the CBA negotiations
Ah,
says they get 50% of bonuses capped at $1 million. It's capped at $1 million. That's the agreement that the MLSPA, the players union's lawyers, that's what they negotiated. And I'm like, who the hell negotiated a cap at $1 million? Like, who agreed to that? MLS lawyers laughing their way to the bank. Like, they're always the winners.
we're like, oh yeah, you'll get 75%, but it's going to be capped at $50.
Right. I'm just like, so cut. So that's where the problem lies. Cut to the FIFA World Cup, where just getting into the tournament gives you $10 million of bonuses. And it's like, well, the players only get 10% of that, and then it's done. And divided amongst 25 players or so, that's 40 grand a player. So it's not nothing, and for a lot of these guys, it'll only be 3 games. But that's the agreement. And the players are striking because they want a better agreement. It's like, well, this is the agreement you signed to via lawyers a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know why you did that. I don't know who made that. I don't know who signed off on that. But your lawyer signed off on that. Now, do I believe they should get more? Sure. I'm all about it.
In the case of Seattle, they should negotiate something per point. That'll turn out cheaper, probably.
So we'll see what happens. That's a thing. And according to a news report, Inter Miami agrees with them as well. I mean, obviously the players want more money, so they're all going to agree with the players' standpoint.
Or what?
MLS
they're gonna strike the. They're gonna.
That's the thing. Or what? Or what? So MLS.
They're going to follow the old time-honored U.S. Open Cup tradition and run out the MLS Next Pro team for the FIFA Club World Cup.
Possibly. Or what they do in Spain when the kickoff kicks, they just run in the center circle and hold hands. Something like that. But MLS, I guarantee you they're going to solve it by rewriting it to make it even worse for them. They're just going to sit them in and their lawyer and be like, dude, we solved it. Don't worry about it. Now they all make half the salaries they made.
You're gonna get this reminds me of Jürgen Wegmann, the legendary, called the Cobra, the legendary striker for Rot-Weiß Essen and Borussia Dortmund. And he was once asked how his contract negotiations are going, and he said, "They're offering me a third more. That's not enough for me. I want at least a fourth."
Well, that's the story. There's a story, kind of an urban legend, which could be true or not, where one of the burger chains, Hardee's or something, to compete with the quarter pounder, they released the third pounder or whatever, and people couldn't buy it because it sounded smaller to them, because 3 is the smaller number.
Yeah, you can't beat stupid, I guess. So this is we'll see how this all shakes out. I don't know how is this all going to go? The tens of millions of dollars that FIFA is throwing around, I don't see. I have yet to.
Right.
I'm still toying with the idea of going to see Dortmund play Fluminense at
You should.
at MetLife Stadium. The tickets are down to $30. There's still plenty of seats. I feel no urgency to buy tickets ahead of time. This is on a Tuesday at noon. The tickets will be available. So
yeah,
I don't know, where's all that money going to come from. I guess they're going to have TV rights, but I don't know. It could be a flop.
Do they, Bjorn? All the games are being broadcast for free globally on DAZN.
For free
for everybody.
But DAZN, they pay something, no?
DAZN paid $1 billion.
Okay,
to
so
be able to show this for free.
That's where the $1 billion.
So they do have $1 billion.
Yeah, and they're going to show ads. I mean, that's their problem, how they make that money back. But
it's all a scam, Bjorn. I mean, how does Sports Illustrated pay $1 billion for naming rights? Yeah, I mean, this is all fake. This is all funny money somehow. Someone's pulling one over.
There's
DAZN's like $1 billion for free games. Sure, who cares? So you need a tax write-off.
A lot of cash out there.
Yeah, and then there you go. Now, maybe we can leave this as our last topic. I do want to talk about Gottman, Royce's wife, and give her massive props. In fact, let me bring it up right now.
All right.
So Marco Royce's wife, they live in a mansion in Newport Beach. They're driving to the beach, and they're going to Mexico, and they're driving around. She is Victoria Beckhaming her. She's having a
Mm.
Victoria Beckham moment. The reign of Dortmund's gone. They're in sunny LA. But I give her props because she's still a German woman, Bjorn, and she makes me proud to be a German. Because do you think Victoria Beckham has ever stepped foot in an Aldi before?
No. Well, it's hard to say.
Do you think Victoria Beckham has ever done her shopping at Target?
I think Victoria Beckham is not as posh as her label would like us to believe, but I see your point. Yeah, she's very. I mean, she lived in Dortmund all these years. Like, she's not going to be highfalutin.
That's what I'm saying. The German woman, they make millions of dollars a year. They live in a big mansion. They've got like a full-time crew around them. But I'm very proud. She takes her kids. She goes to Aldi. She goes to Trader Joe's. She goes to TJ Maxx, and she goes to Target.
Let's
And I was
go.
like, "Atta girl."
I
Now,
saw that
granted, they also
the
went to
one video.
Erewhon.
The one video that I saw, she was rejecting one of the Targets as being too small and not having anything.
Right. She demands more
Nice
Target.
big selection. Oh, she went to the
But
Erewhon. Oh, the Erewhon, which is I went
you
there
go to
when I was in.
Erewhon. Yeah,
That's like that's the place for people who think Whole Foods is not expensive enough.
right. It's ridiculous. So they'd still do that. I'm not saying they don't do that. But like, I look at that girl going to Aldi, and she bought her Waschpulver there, right, or washing detergent, and she's like, "Yeah, I got this all cheap or whatever." I'm just like, good for you, because a German, Bjorn, will never spend a penny if they don't have to. It comes from being children of war, children of economical means,
Marco is bringing in the dollars, and she's watching the pennies.
and I'm all about it. I have mad respect.
All right, I got to see more of this. I got to watch more of the show.
That's great. Yeah, she goes to Trader Joe's.
I just
and she loves Trader
enjoy,
Joe's.
since we are a German American podcast, I enjoy, because I don't watch a lot of German media. I don't really speak a lot of German in my day-to-day life, so I'm always interested in these kinds of things to see how the language has changed. Like, there's just so many anglicisms and weird new words or things that I don't really that I don't use. So it's interesting. I watched a season of Love Is Blind Germany. Did we talk about this a few months ago? Also, just for that reason, and it was kind of it was fascinating. Anyway,
I just saw this thing, by the way, for you. Is this the thing? ARD. Yeah, let me send you. This ARD every year has something called the Neues Jugendwort Awards or something.
No, I'm familiar with this. Yeah, I used to follow this. I don't know. What is it this year? Krass?
No, Krass is from 1996.
Okay.
It's how old it was. Like, all this stuff from 96, it was like Krass, Gaia. Like, all the stuff that people use all the time now. From way after my parents' generation. Like, I learned that too through. I watch a lot of German movies on TV now.
Krass is after me. Everybody says that so much.
Guile,
I don't. Well, yeah, that was a thing when I was a kid. Although it was still a little risque. Like, you would not use that word in polite company. Like, now people use it in church.
It means horny. Or whatever. Yeah.
Well, originally it does. Now it just means anything that's great.
Yeah, and this year I want to find it. I'll send it to you later. This year it's like a lot of phrases, like 3-word phrases never heard.
Okay.
Also, it's anglicized. I think this is also 96, maybe, or maybe it's now. Chillin' is one.
Chillin', okay.
CHILLEN, chillin'. But anyway,
she said, she says wir haben uns jetzt ready gemacht. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
That was my favorite line.
My favorite from the Rammstein documentary is Alles war abgefuckt. And then that's so pardon my French, we got swear time, but they literally just took an American swear and they just Germanified it. It means effed up, but in the German, is that Präteritum? I should know what that is.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
German, but anyway, one final topic that I have to talk about because it's been a week. Bjorn, I don't know, man.
I gotta
So
laugh.
the United, so as Germany's about to, under the Nagelsmann era, crushing it, entering the Nations League Final Four, the German national team is ready to go. They're ready. They're a year ahead of time, and they're already ready. The U.S. national team has one competitive window left before the World Cup, and it's this window. Next year, during the season, they'll have a handful of times where the boys will get together for a day or two for some friendlies. That's it. Then the World Cup starts next June for them. This is the last camp season where the boys can get together and prepare under Poch, who's still a relatively new coach.
Mhm.
He's only been coach for 11 months.
Yeah.
And his 11-month tenure has been very underwhelming, to say the least.
Oh, really?
So, well, yeah, with 4th place at a 4 in the Nations League, and then
Who-
lost to
who-
Mexico and the
Who could
friendly.
have predicted this?
Anyway, so this summer, I thought foolishly, like a U.S. fan, I knew it was going to be weird because of the Gold Cup. I knew it was going to be weird because the FIFA Club World Cup means that there's no Gio, there's no West, there's no Tim Weah. But I thought that was it. I thought this would be the senior team without those three, but whatever. You got to do what you got to do. Getting together, playing Switzerland and Turkey, winning a tournament, like figuring each other out. I thought that's what this summer was going to be. I thought this was going to be a very important summer for that. All the players are quitting. They're like, no, thanks. We want the summer off. And Pochettino called himself a very experimental roster. And since the announcement, many members of those roster have gotten injured and replaced by even more obscure players. I think someone said it best, where it's like, I think I was listening to Scuff this today. Great podcast, by the way. And they interviewed Leander Shilakins about a book on the U.S. men's national team he's about to release. And he's got a whole big old Klinsmann section. He can't wait to release. he's like hundreds of people couldn't wait to talk to me about the Klinsmann era.
Oh.
He's just like, that's gonna be, because he's talking about like, and that's a whole nother thing. A lot about how Klinsmann like starts. He's like an ADHD boy like me. He starts projects and abandons them with the next window. It's all gone. But anywho,
Well, I just gotta laugh. Well, anyway, sorry. I don't want to.
Yeah, just their announcement was like weird roster. It's like Yunus Musa, Tanner Tessman, Pulisic, Cardozo or whatever not in, but Zawadzki is in. That was like their was their like headline. It's like yeah, that's what we just saw. This is the weirdest roster I think in recent memory. I can't think of a weird like. So there's a lot of factors to this. Pulisic pulled himself off, right? And now there's a big debate. Alexi Lawless is doing, you're like, oh, I don't care, but muscle up, But, you know, Pulisic played a 50-plus game season. Alexi Lawless never played more than 30 games in a year. However, Christian Pulisic, after saying, oh, I'm kind of injured and need to take a break, he then played the rest of the season, played a full 90 minutes for AC Milan in their meaningless final game after they finished 7th place. Then Yunus Musa, he's also going to take off. He's 22 and he played 16 competitive games this season, but he needs the summer off as well. You know, and it's like, all right. I just say, okay. And then Pochettino is not calling in Tanner Tessman or Josh Sargent
or Joe Scally.
Or Joe Scally. Well, for quote unquote sporting reasons. Joe Scally, I don't know. Another thing that pissed me off is reporters didn't ask any questions, so we have no answer. Like I don't know if I'm being biased here. I know I am, but John Tolkien wasn't. John Tolkien isn't on the camp either. It's like he just spent 6 months as a Bundesliga left back.
I mean, this is the thing that just really that gives me a chuckle. You know, like after just eviscerating the previous coach and years of complaining and everything, you know, like anybody who has ever been to Europe can do no wrong, and they get and now the fan base gets the Euro coach that they've always dreamed about, the number one choice. And where does he look for solutions of this like sort of underwhelming
league?
It looks at major league,
but that's not the story though. That's
that's very much. You don't think that's?
But Pochettino's not. The players are quitting on him. Pochettino would love to have had Christian Pulisic here and Yunus Musa. the story is he's getting these MLS guys because he has to. They're fit. Like he needs players.
Well, but
Now, granted, could he?
he's not calling in a bunch of available
True.
European guys.
Like Tanner Tessman is probably, like
I
Bjorn.
mean,
Why isn't he
Tanner
calling in Tanner
Tessman,
Tessman?
because he's not that good. I mean,
And Zaratsky is a league better than him?
I don't know about Zaratsky. I don't think
That's
I've
what I'm
seen.
saying. It's
I don't
like,
think
who's
I've
the
seen
alternative? Why no Johnny Cardozo? I don't know. All I know is like this is a bonkers roster,
the
and
pool
absolutely
is
nothing
shallow.
about
The
this.
pool is quite shallow these days.
And also the communication's a little weird because Pochettino is just veiledly talking about how the players he wants are the players who wants to be here. And Greg Berhalter admitted he was way too lax as a coach, and he admitted that they failed at Copa America because he led a really bad camp. Greg Berhalter said that. Not in those many words. He just said, like, we learned our lesson because we were way too lackadaisical at camp last summer, which explained a lot. And Pochettino wants to be a little more of a hard ass, going back to the kind of stuff I said about MLS mentality being too soft. Maybe our U.S. players are too soft, is what we're learning. And Pochettino's trying to set some ground rules, and maybe the Tanner Tessmans and the Josh Sargents were a little too lackadaisical for him in training, So something's going on. It's not super clear. The journalists are not asking him questions. So we're not getting any answers.
He probably
But
won't.
Pochettino will be
not going to throw anybody under the bus publicly.
But Pochettino is going to be interviewed via Landon Donovan and Tim Howard via the Unfiltered podcast. They've been teasing it all week. I think that's coming out tomorrow, after tomorrow, or something. And the little teaser trailer they showed was Pochettino talking about how Argentinians and all these elite players from Brazil's and your Germany's and your Italy's, doesn't matter what the game is, a friendly or whatever, they show up for their national teams. They did talk about that during the podcast. And I can't help but wonder if that's another veiled criticism at Mr. Pulisic. I want to be in Florida on my boat this summer. However, what I will say, and we talked about this half an hour ago, like players are overworked and they're on these summer tours and they got the FIFA Club World Cup. They do need to rest sometime. And if Pulisic takes the summer off and it makes him twice the player next summer, then I'm all for it. So, like, I support the rest if that's what it'll do.
It's just hard to say, right? If that's
Right.
how it's going to go.
It's hard to quantify that.
It's
Yes.
yeah. I mean, this a little bit, shades of 2006, right? Like we had, I mean, a year before that World Cup, Germany was the host, and everything was on fire too. The national team
Right.
was struggling; they couldn't find a coach. It was and then everything turned out all right. Hopefully, this will be similar. But yeah, it's there's definitely some angst, and rightfully so. It's not but I think also, I mean, my take. I think it also is good for everybody's expectations to take a little reality check. I mean, this team was not going to win. Is not going to win the World Cup next year, and was never gonna.
No, but I'd like them to be more prepared. For the U.S., I want a nice run to the semis, quarters to semis.
Oof, okay.
The way Morocco did, the way Turkey did, the way South Korea did, Sweden made a run to the final when they were hosts back in the day. I know we're talking 58 here, but you don't like the U.S. is not an elite team. I do know that.
South Africa got bounced in the group stage.
True, like that's the other side of it. Yeah, Qatar got bounced in the group stage, I think, right in 2022, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that's the other side of it. But I like to think we're a higher level than Qatar. But where's our run to the semis? Where's our run to the quarters? Like we can't win it, but we can be prepared and have a good tournament. The Danes made their run to the final. Greece won the Euros. There's as a fan, you're allowed to root for the underdog run, and as the U.S.,
no,
it's time for our underdog run.
You should root away, but like, yeah, we'll see. I mean, it just doesn't. Well, yeah,
it's disappointing. All I'm going to say, it's disappointing. This summer was supposed to be a big opportunity for preparation, and right now that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing this weird experimental roster, and we've won Gold Cups with experimental rosters before. But the reality is that doesn't really lead to much when it comes to your A level players. So I don't know how that's supposed to translate for next summer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm failing to see the connection between this summer and next summer. Is pretty much my complaint, and it's disappointing. But yeah, there you go. I think that's it. I think we covered a lot of good stuff. We got next week. We're going to preview our German teams in the FIFA Club World Cup. It's coming. It's happening. We got the German national team.
We're going to review the Nations League.
Nations League, and then we got FIFA Club
We didn't
World
even
Cup
talk.
coming.
Didn't even talk about MLS at all. My team is schizophrenic. Lost terribly, had a great win, then had a terrible loss, then a hard-fought draw. Who knows? Who's to say?
Yeah, I didn't even. I was looking very close at LA Galaxy this year. Speaking of the PSG thing,
they got to win.
The minute Marco Reus doesn't play, LA Galaxy finally wins again.
Oh boy!
And it's like, well, that's not looking good, right? New York Red Bulls on a great tear. They knocked out the FC Dallas.
Got lost
US
at the big target. Got lost at the big target, Marco.
I lost the big target. New York Red Bulls on a winning streak. They won the US Open Cup. They won the last 2 or 3 MLS games. All of a sudden, the New York Red Bulls flipped on a switch. They started high pressing again, and they started winning again. And my boys are in 6th place. Yours in what, 11th or something? Where are you guys at?
9th, I think.
9th. We're at 6th. Mm-hmm. You're at 9th. MLS, good MLS. Yeah, we have so much other to talk about.
We'll do another 1 hour, right, for the next couple of weeks, because there's not a lot of MLS.
Probably, yeah, 100%. Because the MLS is just gonna MLS, right?
Well, there's hardly any games in June.
Yeah,
we're not playing until the 12th. We have 2 games in June.
I think we do too. I think our next game is on the 15th or something. That's about it.
Weird.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll see you all next week.
All right.
Tschüss. Bis nächste Woche.
Gute Nacht.